I want to mention Gabriel and what he did to Haaland. It happened to me here, actually. Not here, it was at Highbury many, many years ago where a player came up and screamed in my face. We actually won the game 4-2 that day. I actually don't like it. I think it's a bit disrespectful. I get the fact that all Haaland's the sort of pantomime villain here today, but there's something about it that I didn't... I was many things, but I never did that. I never went and screamed in a player's face. I don't know, I just felt there was something about that I thought, it made me feel a little bit uneasy, a little bit disrespectful.
Gary Neville there going in on Arsenal for Gabriel shouting in the face of Haaland. What do you all think of that? Genuinely. Can you put your bias aside and let me know? I'm going to be talking about that. We've got a big take from Mark Goldbridge on Pep Guardiola, and I've been called out. I've been called out, and I've got to respond. I have to respond. All that to come on the show. And what Gary Neville said, look, I heard Keith Hackett talk about it yesterday as well, and Keith Hackett said words to the effect of that it isn't right in the game. Let's actually take a little look at what Keith Hackett said, actually. We've got the clip just here. Let's play what he said. So this is the ex-referee and ex-head of the PGMOL.
It's so important in our great game that players show respect to each other. So I think it was extremely disappointing that the disrespect shown by Gabriel Magalhaes against Eric Haaland on the weekend was unacceptable. And I hope that someone will have a word in his ear. Frankly, the referee, if he heard or saw that exchange, should and could have taken action by issuing a yellow card.
And look, my old PE teacher, Mr. Hagger, absolute legend, he would agree. As children, you are taught that this is unsporting-like behaviour, ungentlemanly conduct, and it's a yellow card offence. I understand Gary Neville says he doesn't like it. However, that all being said, I'm calling a little bit of BS on this. Where was Gary Neville? Where was Gary Neville when Erling Haaland threw the ball in his face? Where were these outcries 2 seasons ago? And I'm using an example that I remember. Tottenham got an equaliser against Man United at Old Trafford, and Romero screamed in the face of Harry Maguire, who was on the floor. Nobody mentioned it. In fact, people, when it comes to mocking celebrations, Mopai has been famed for it, and everyone finds it funny. Jamie Vardy is a hero. We all bemoaned the yellow card last week. I think it was for a Crystal Palace player who did the seagull actions. We all saw it and said, why is he being booked for that? And this is where I'm disappointed in Gary Neville. I understand Keith Hackett saying it, but this is where I'm disappointed in Gary Neville. He was a professional athlete. Yes, when you're a kid, you're taught about sporting behaviour, gentlemanly conduct, etc. But as you move into a professional environment, sledging, as they call it in cricket, exists in most sports, and you try and get in the ear of the opponent. And sometimes it bites you in the backside. You give it the big one as an MMA fighter, you get caught on the chin and get knocked out. It is what it is. But what you're trying to do is to get into the mind of your opponent. And actually watching some of it back between Haaland and Gabriel, I actually thought they both enjoyed the exchange that they went through. But on Gary Neville, what I found probably the most disappointing after he said what he said was this. The Gabriel on Haaland throwing the ball back at Gabriel's head before running off to celebrate the last-minute equaliser. Me and Cara laughed when we saw it because it's funny. So shouting at someone is wrong. Too far. Has to stop. Throwing a ball at their head is acceptable. You see, for me, I'm calling out the inconsistencies here because I don't ever want to see these inconsistencies applied to my club, Manchester United, or my nation, England, when we're playing football. It stinks. It absolutely stinks. This is Gary Neville, by the way, who was encouraging via commentary Haaland to run up to Gabriel and shout in his face. In fact, encouraging him to do him in a really hard tackle during that game. So Gary Neville almost feels that physical attacks, throwing balls, the ball at the head, by the way, was a joke, but throwing a ball at a head, a physical attack on a pitch with a harsh tackle is somewhat acceptable, but shouting in someone's face, too far. You've gone over the top. Let me know what you think and feel about that. But for me, that again is Gary Neville expressing his disdain and his hatred for Arsenal, which on a footballing level he's allowed to have. But I think as one of the highest paid professional pundits in the game, whose job it is to educate us, I feel that is massively disingenuous, and he's allowing his Arsenal hate and his Arsenal bias to come through in his commentary, because it isn't quite adding up what he has said. Now, moving on from Gary Neville, I want to play this clip from Mark Goldbridge. He's speaking about Pep Guardiola. I want to get your take on this. Take a little listen.
If he didn't have the pedigree, then he'd be under pressure. If he didn't have the titles in the back, he would be under pressure. The thing I find interesting, I had this chat on the watch-along yesterday, is I said that Pep Guardiola's a flat-track bully. Pep Guardiola walked into Man City, they'd won the title, and there's all the money you want. Barcelona.
Before we go any further, I want to give, by the way, a shout out to our title sponsors today. That is Stocks FC, the best fantasy platform around. One of my favourite games to play online when it comes to football. It tests your knowledge. How good are you really at picking the best players? And do you really have stocks in them? You see people tweet every day, I've got stocks in Ahmad. Do you really? Well, here's the chance to put your money where your mouth is. It's as simple as that. It's a fun game to play. You can sign up now by scanning the QR code. It takes you to the website. You can claim your free stocks. When you go on the website, it shows you the 3 IPOs that are out this week. But a really important thing to look at when building your portfolio is who has had the big jumps. Look at Ward-Prowse on his way back to West Ham. People are buying those stocks. Chris Wood, again, flying. Obviously, the most valuable and best payout player in the history of this platform as well. Conor Gallagher shooting up. Ollie Watkins, that he went up, he went down, he's gone back up again now. Links to a potential summer move to Arsenal and so much more. Mohamed Salah. Again, if he signs that new deal, I think he's going to skyrocket. So keep your eye out for that one. And remember, everyone that signs up during this show, so just specifically for this show, you go into a draw to win 2 Premier League tickets to watch a team of your choice as a thank you and a reward for signing up. But go check the game out. It's fun to play. Any questions about it, send me a message and I'll answer them. If I can't, we'll go and speak to the people at Stocks. But it is brilliant. Let's get back to what Mark Goldbridge was saying here about Pep being a flat-track bully.
Walks into an amazing set of players, generational players, the best Barcelona side ever. Bayern Munich's Bayern Munich. And what we've seen with Pep, he stayed at Man City too long. What he normally does is he gets out before it goes wrong. At Man City, he probably should have gone at the end of last season. And everyone would have gone, the guy's just unstoppable. But what he's actually done is he's exposed himself, because John Stones looks a shadow of himself. De Bruyne, Kyle Walker's gone. People have caught up Man City up. And now on a level playing field, Pep Guardiola is a little bit exposed as he can't adapt. I don't think he's as good a coach as some people think, because if he's not got the best tools, I think in a level playing field, he becomes it's almost a negative for him when he's under that pressure. He's better when he's got better things than everybody else. And I'm looking at the Arsenal game and I'm like, you've got time to change this game. This is going one way. He can't change it in game. He just can't do it. And
I feel Mark is right and wrong here. And I'll explain that and I'll unpack it for you. But I want to put my statement out first. He's right about some elements, but I think maybe wrong contextually. So what I mean by that is this. Yes, City are struggling right now. And I understand the argument that if he left, he'd have gone out on a high and it would be, he's just unstoppable. Nobody can ever beat him. He's had these teams that are consistently in title races, consistently in the top 1 or 2 teams in their league. Wow. However, where I disagree with Mark is they've spent a lot of money this January to bring in better players. That remains to be seen whether they are, but very good on paper. If this team starts to improve and they go on and win the Champions League this year, if next season in the summer they bring in some more recruits and they go on and win the Premier League again and they retain it again, they win another Champions League, some more domestic trophies, then he's proven he can rebuild a team. He's proven that he can have a team fall off. He can go out into the transfer market with his recruitment team, buy the right players and get them to adapt to his system and win. So I don't necessarily think it's bad for his Premier League legacy that he didn't leave. However, the element that I think Mark is right about is when it comes down to the GOAT conversation and the nitpicking. And this is the element that will upset Man City fans, but it's par for the course. When you're separating the Fergies, when you're separating You're looking at the Ancelottis, when you're looking at the Paisleys, the Cloughs of this world, and multiple other managers that you're all going to throw in there. I'm thinking predominantly from a Premier League standpoint here, but you go right across the board, you think about the greatest managers ever, you will get into a position where you start to nitpick. And that nitpicking can sometimes sound petty, but it often needs to be if you're going to whittle out who you think the greatest is. And the one argument that will go against Pep is that when the going got tough in this season, he wasn't able to adapt his system quick enough. He wasn't able to find a solution from his academy. He wasn't able to shift the player's position, make his team competitive again, stop them from leaking the goals and make them strong. We have seen great managers do that. Not permanently, not long term. So Sir Alex Ferguson, as an example, didn't go, right, I've got a problem in the midfield, I'm going to play John O'Shea there. Oh, that worked for 3 months. John O'Shea's our new midfield player. No, he went and bought a new midfield player. So City reinvesting isn't the problem. But what we have seen is that Pep hasn't been able to adapt. It's one of the worst runs of form ever from not just the defending champion, but from a defending champion that's considered an English great. And that will go against him, there's no doubt. But that's only in the GOAT conversation. He's in that category. For me, I think people go too far when they say, well, this proves he ain't one of the best. No, he certainly is. He certainly is one of the best, and there's no doubt about that in my mind. But I'd love to get your opinions on that, people. Now, I also said to you earlier on today, that's a funny freeze frame on Mark's face, to be fair. I'm going to just play that along a sec. Because I did him bad there, I've been called out. And I suppose I have to answer for my crimes. I suppose that's only fair of me to do that. I have legitimately been called out. I'm not trolling. This is what was said. We'll read the top one first. Terry is a pathetic hypocrite and chaser of views. Whilst at him, my account on Twitter, hoping people will see it, by the way. Publicly tweeting something. You're chasing views as well. We all are, but okay. Apparently, it's cool to let United managers have time for his philosophy. But when it comes to Ange, no can do. Especially since the 11th game of last season, he hasn't been able to use his full team. I love that. So firstly, that isn't what I've said about Big Ange. Maybe you've seen a snapshot of a conversation. Maybe you've listened to one piece of content and you made your mind up, which is fair. I'll be fair back to you. Watch more. What I've said about Ange is that I'm going off what Spurs fans have educated me on. They do not believe that your board will at any point build a squad that's good enough to make Ange's football work on a consistent level. So therefore, what I have said, if the manager and the board are not aligned and the squad they're going to build will not match the style of football he's going to play, you need to move on from him. I haven't said he's a bad coach. I've also praised him when he does things like he did against Brentford. So if Ange can adapt, and it doesn't mean you lose your philosophy, but it means you understand that some games you have to be more pragmatic and other games you need to attack more. If he learns to get that right on a more regular basis, then it could also work. But what we've been told all along is he won't change anything. He's going to play one way and one way only. And for me, that's a little bit dangerous. So it's not about Ange being a bad coach. It's about singing from the same hymn sheet. So I hope that gives you a distinction, my friend. The second part is he always mentions that he's unbiased. I am unbiased. That doesn't mean I won't have opinions you disagree with, though. And me and you disagreeing on something that we see as different, i.e. my view on Amorim and Man United versus Ange and Tottenham, there's a distinct difference. One has just begun. One is 18 months old. One has had 0 new players signed and play for him. The other has had 300 to 400 million spent. The jury's out as to whether we'll build a squad for Amorim. But in 18 months' time, if we're nowhere near building a squad for him, I will have the same energy. So that's why I'm unbiased. That doesn't mean I won't have different opinions on different circumstances. But now he wants Arsenal to win the league due to his rivals being in the title race. Yeah, that's fair. By the way, what I have also said is that I'd rather Nottingham Forest win it over everybody because they're an even smaller rival of mine compared to Arsenal. You've conveniently left that out. But let's go back not even 6 months ago. What blasphemy it was to think that Spurs fans didn't want Arsenal to win. Such a pathetic liar and cunt. Well, I didn't think it was wrong for Spurs fans to not want Arsenal to win the league. What I felt was wrong is celebrating an opportunity missed for you to be in the Champions League. So I don't want Liverpool to win the league. But let's just paint a picture. It's hypothetical, but let's paint a picture. Last game of the season, or second last game, United versus Arsenal. If we win, we make the top 4, get Champions League football, generate more money, have an opportunity at Champions League glory. If we lose, Arsenal win the league, but Liverpool miss out. I would not celebrate losing that game because my club's advancement means more to me than the pain of Liverpool winning the league. So again, a huge distinction there, my friend. A huge differential between what you're saying and what you've heard. Now, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you've only seen snapshots. What may also have happened is people have told you what I've said, but lied or got it wrong. That happens a lot. It happens a hell of a lot when it comes to... All content creators go through it. You know, they take 30 seconds of what you said and they create a story. But yes, I think there's a clear distinction. But I wanted to respond. Even though you were very rude and very nasty. And I know for a fact you wouldn't have that energy to my face. But I thought I'd do the honourable thing and respond. But you are wrong in nearly every single thing you've said because you've completely removed the context. And what you've done is gone for the what and not the why. And in life, you should always focus on the why more so than the what. And if people are scared to answer why, it tells you what they're saying is flimsy at best and complete and utter bullshit at worst. As ever, please hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribing. Go check out Stocks FC right now. An amazing platform. I love the game. And everyone who signs up. There's 2 prize draws, by the way. There's a PlayStation 5 we're giving away at the end of February. And for each show that we feature Stocks FC, we are giving away 2 tickets to watch a Premier League team of your choice. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless, and I'll see you soon. Peace!